next lesson is rearranging equations. One of the prerequisites of this course is to have knowledge of algebra. And I know that not everybody has, they're not the best at algebra. But if you can rearrange equations, you'll be fine. Okay. So I will apply algebraic techniques to rearrange equations and accurately use calculators by following the order of operations, or PEMDAS, to solve complex problems, ensuring precision and correctness in mathematical and scientific computations across various contexts. Okay, so let's say you're given the following equation to solve a problem. The question is asking you to solve for the velocity u, but that's not how the equation is arranged. What do we do? Okay, all right. So there's two routes that you can take. One, you can do what we call plug and chug. Okay, so you plug in all the numbers and then you use algebra to solve. Okay, so if you're good at algebra and you know how to do it, great. If you are not as good at algebra, or you are the type of person that needs to have the variable you're looking for on the left-hand side of the equal sign, then you're going to want to rearrange the equation so that it says v equals, and then solve the math. Okay, so in this case, we're going to end up with v equals d divided by t. And yes, for some, this may be easy, but for everybody, this is definitely easiest. Okay, so looking at the equation that you're given, ask yourself, how do I get the variable I want alone? Okay, so I'm given s equals u times t. Okay, s is distance, u is velocity, t is time. Okay, I need to solve for u. I want u all by itself. Okay, so start by writing the equation as it appears. Okay, don't be afraid to use paper and write things down. Do not do things in your head. It just doesn't work out, right? Then start moving variables and numbers away from the variable that you want by doing the opposite operation on both sides of the equation. So what that means is I want u by itself. Right now, u is times t. The opposite of times or multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by t on both sides. When I do that, I end up with s divided by t equals u, and then the t's cancel, right? So now I have s divided by t equals u. Now I have u by itself. I can just put the numbers in and then do what it says to do. Okay, so the numbers that I was given was 5 meters and 2 seconds. So now I just put those numbers in and I do the math. So I do 5 divided by 2, either in your head or on a calculator. Okay, make sure that you add the correct units at the end, right? So in this case, it's meters per second, m divided by s. Okay, all right. So if a is 0.5 meters per second squared, and d is, or I should say s is 2 meters, and v is 3 meters per second, what is u? Okay, you're given the following equation. V squared is equal to u squared plus 2 times a times s. Okay, so first thing that we want to do, we want to get u by itself. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get rid of this part right here. To do that, we need to subtract 2as from both sides. Okay, when we do that, 2as minus 2as then becomes 0, right? So I'm just left with u squared on this side. On this side, I now have v squared minus 2as. Okay? But this is solving for u squared. I want just u. The opposite of squaring something is square rooting it, right? So in this case, if I take the square root of both sides, u squared square root is just u, and then everything else stays the same. So you now have the square root of v squared minus 2 times a times s. Okay, here's another example. Or actually, here's the example with the numbers in it. I've solved for the u equals the square root of v squared minus 2as. I'm just going to put the numbers in. So I'm going to square the v, right? So 3 squared is 9. And then if I put the numbers 2, 0.5, and 2 in, I end up with 2 times 0.5 times 2, right? So 2 times 2 is 4, and then times 0.5 is 2. Look at our units. I have an m/s squared, and I have an m. If we're going to multiply those together, the m, the meters, and the meters multiply together, so I end up with meters squared. Notice now on the inside here, we have the same units. Okay, anytime that you're adding or subtracting units together, they have to be, numbers together, the units have to be the same. Okay, so now I just did 9 minus 2, which is 7, and then took the square root. Okay, and the square root of m squared over s squared is the square root of m, square root of s squared, which is just s, right? Then I end up with meters squared. Okay. To sum it up, rearranging the equations makes the math simpler. Use opposite functions to get the variables you want alone, and then do the math last. It's always the best way to do it. Do the math last.